Welcome, dear horror listener. You're tuning into Horror Radio, and I'm truly grateful you're here. Whether you're a long-time listener or just stumbled upon this channel, thank you for joining me for another scary tale. If you enjoy these stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and means more than you know. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, what brought you here, or even what kind of story you'd like to hear next. Your support keeps this channel going, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, let's get into today's horror story. It was late December, right in that quiet lull between Christmas and New Year's when the highways feel emptier than usual. Most people were still with family or staying put until after the new year. But I was making a solo drive back from a holiday visit with my dad in Colorado Springs to my place in Santa Fe. I had work the next day, small marketing agency gig, and didn't want to be caught in post-holiday traffic. I decided to make the drive in one shot. It was just over 6 hours, and I figure if I left around 5 p.m., I'd get in a little before midnight. I had coffee, a full tank, and enough downloaded playlists to get me across state lines. I'm Ava, by the way. I've always been the kind of person who enjoys long drives alone. Something about the rhythm of it, the space to think, the way the road just rolls out ahead of you like a promise. But that night, something about it felt different. It wasn't snowing, but the cold hum in the air like something waiting to break. The sky was a deep slate gray, and once I passed through Raton and into northeastern New Mexico, the traffic dropped off almost completely. I was somewhere on US 84, maybe 40 miles north of Las Vegas, New Mexico. The road was wide and straight, with those big open plains on either side and the occasional hill casting a long shadow across the asphalt. I hadn't seen another vehicle in a while, not even headlights way off in the distance. I kept one hand on the wheel, the other scrolling through Spotify on my dash-mounted phone. That's when I noticed the lights behind me. 2 large beams, high up, not car headlights. It was a semi. It appeared all at once, like it had come out of nowhere, even though the road behind me was perfectly flat. I figure I must have spaced out, but the thing was already on me, maybe 4 car lengths back. I slowed just a bit to let it pass, and it eased up alongside me. I expected it to breeze by in a left lane, but instead, it held steady. The trailer had a dull, pale blue cab, clean but unmarked. No logos, no numbers, just plain. And then the spotlight turned on, not from the front, but from a mounted side lamp on the cab. It swung down and aimed directly into my driver's side window, flooding the inside of my car with this harsh white glare. I flinched. It was blinding for a second, like someone had taken a photo with the flash too close. At first, I honestly thought I'd done something wrong. Maybe I had a headlight out, or something was hanging from the undercarriage. But then he didn't signal me or wave. He didn't do anything except keep the spotlight trained on my face. I tried not to react, just stared ahead and gripped the wheel tighter. My chest felt tight. The light stayed on me for what felt like a full minute, then finally switched off. The truck pulled in front of me and slid into the right lane. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Weird, but maybe nothing. Maybe he was checking to see if I was okay. I tried to convince myself of that. Maybe I was imagining the tension. Maybe it was just late and I was getting in my head. I changed lanes, moving into the far left to put distance between us. That's when the truck moved too, sliding into the middle lane, once again directly beside me. The spotlight snapped back on, this time aimed into the passenger side window, cutting across the center console and hitting my lap. I turned my face to the left, avoiding the light. My whole body went cold. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't about road safety. This wasn't about anything normal. This man was playing with me. I eased off the gas and drifted back behind a truck. Then I moved 2 lanes over, putting myself in the rightmost lane again. The moment I settled, the truck dropped speed too. It shifted back in front of me, blocking me. The trailer swayed slightly in the cold wind, and for a second, I pictured the cab side mirror tilted down, watching me. I felt this prickly sensation behind my eyes, like I was being measured. I knew then I had to get away. I hit the gas and veered into the left lane, flooring it to about 85 miles per hour. I blew past him, eyes locked on the road, heart hammering. I told myself not to look back, but within 20 seconds, I couldn't resist. I glanced in the rearview mirror, and there he was. The cab headlights were growing, fast. He was accelerating, hard. He was coming after me. I pushed it to 90, then 95. My engine whined, and the wheels felt loose on the cold road, but I didn't let up. The truck was closing the gap, this massive shape framed in orange highway lamps from a nearby exit ramp. Its speed didn't seem possible. It was devouring the distance between us. He pulled up beside me again, this time closer than before, hugging the center line like he wanted to clip me. The spotlight turned on one final time, slashing across my face from the passenger side. I didn't flinch. I didn't look. I just held the wheel like it was the only thing anchoring me to the world. I don't know what he wanted. Attention, fear, power. But whatever it was, he wasn't finished. I slammed on my brakes, harder than I ever had before. Tires shrieked, and my seatbelt locked against my chest. I dropped back behind the semi and cut right into his blind spot. Then I waited. The road curved just ahead. I saw a green sign glowing in the dark. Exit 366. I didn't even read what town it was for. Didn't matter. The moment the semi passed the exit point, I swung out from behind it and veered hard onto the off-ramp. My tires jumped the groove, but I held it steady and didn't slow down until I hit the bottom of the ramp. I pulled into the first thing I saw, a gas station with a Wendy's attached to it. I parked at the edge of the lot, far from the pumps, and shut off my lights. My whole body was shaking. I sat there for at least 20 minutes, engine off, staring at the road, waiting for that cab to roll down the ramp, waiting for it to circle the lot. But it didn't. Eventually, I got out and walked a slow lap around my car. Checked the tires, the hood, the trunk. Nothing was wrong. No flat, no dragging bumper, no gas cap open. Nothing to explain why a truck driver would single me out and follow me with spotlights for over 20 minutes. I went inside Wendy's, ordered something just to be around people. Didn't eat it. After enough time passed, I eased back onto the highway. I kept my speed steady, checked my mirrors every few seconds. Never saw that truck again. When I got a Santa Fe, I took a different route to work for a week, avoided open stretches, stayed in the middle of traffic, and even now, years later, anytime I see a semi pulling up beside me at night, I catch myself holding my breath. I still don't know what he wanted, and maybe that's the part that unsettles me most. We've been doing road trips together for 5 years, and somehow, we never ran in anything worse than a flat tire or a cranky gas station cashier. But last July, all that changed. What happened out on that stretch between Colorado and Utah still leaves a sour pit in my stomach whenever I think about it. And I think about it more often than I like to admit. My name's Haley. I'm 32, and my wife, Lex, is 34. We're both software contractors who work remote, which means we can pretty much pick up and go when we feel like it. We've been planning this trip for a while, a week driving through the mountain states, camping, eating bad food, just getting away from everyone. It was supposed to be our break from the world. Lex loves weird roadside stops, so I mapped out a few for us. Some ghost town museums, a giant fiberglass buffalo, and Wyoming, a hot spring or two. We were headed toward Arches National Park, but detoured a bit because Lex had found this old mining town turned roadside motel she wanted to check out. The place looked like it hadn't been touched since the 70s, but that was half the charm. It was called Arrested Gold, just off Route 191, surrounded by nothing but hills and heat. We rolled in around 4 p.m., the heat warping the horizon, the asphalt shimmering like it might melt. The motel was 2 stories, pink stucco chipping in places, and the lot was mostly empty except for a cluster of trucks and bikes parked near the back. Lex parked under the one skinny tree in the lot and stayed in the car while I went to check us in. She's ex-military, never unarmed, but even she gets a little on edge when we're out in unfamiliar territory. I didn't blame her. Something about the place felt dry, not just weather-wise. Like I'd seen things it didn't want to talk about. Inside, the air was cool and smelled like pine cleaner. I got us a room on the far end, away from the other guests. The woman at the desk was polite but distracted, kept looking toward the lot. I didn't think much of it until I stepped back outside. There was someone leaned over Lex's side of the car. A woman, maybe late 40s, short-cropped blonde hair, sleeveless flannel, heavy denim jeans that looked like they could stand up on their own. Her stance was casual, but I could feel the tension in Lex's shoulders through the windshield. I slowed my step and called out, "You good, babe?" Lex didn't take her eyes off the woman. "Peachy." The woman turned slowly and looked me up and down with the kind of expression that makes your skin crawl. Not threatening. Exactly. Just too interested. She popped a sunflower seed in her mouth and spat the shell on the pavement. "Didn't know your girl had a handler," she said, eyes flicking back to Lex. "Cute." I didn't say anything. Lex just stared. After a long pause, the woman shrugged and wandered off, heading back toward a group of people gathered near a long-haul Peterbilt that looked like it hadn't seen a car wash in years. A couple of other women were there too, plus a large man in a stained tank top and camo cargo shorts. None of them looked friendly. We got in the room and locked the door behind us. Lex checked the windows, her usual routine. I tried to brush it off. Just one of those truck stop weirdos. Probably bored. "Yeah," Lex said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "We're looking for a reason." We didn't leave the room after that. Ordered food to go from the diner across the street and picked it up quick. Lex kept her sidearm on a nightstand, and I tried not to let it ruin the night. It was our anniversary, after all. Around 11 p.m., we just finished eating and were watching some grainy late-night sitcom rerun when someone knocked on the door. Just a quick tap-tap, then silence. Lex muted the TV. "Who is it?" she called out. No answer. I moved toward the peephole and looked out. No one there. We both stood still for a moment, listening. We heard footsteps, fast, fading toward the parking lot. Lex looked at me. "You locked the deadbolt?" "Yeah." We didn't open the door. The rest of the night passed without anything else weird, but sleep was light. Lex was up at dawn, loading our bags into the car. We left before the sun fully cleared the hills. About 20 minutes down the highway, I noticed a semi behind us. Just a plain white cab with a blue stripe across the side. At first I didn't think much of it. This was highway country, after all, but didn't pass. And when we pulled off at a rest area for coffee, it rolled in behind us and idled in the far corner of the lot. Lex noticed too. "That's the same truck from the motel," she said quietly. I looked again. "You sure?" "Positive. Same damage on the bumper. Same stripe." We got our coffee and got back in the car. Didn't speak much. I could feel Lex watching the rearview mirror every few seconds. The truck kept following us. Not tailgating, but close enough that it didn't feel like coincidence. We passed 3 exits, and it was still there. I kept trying to think of explanations. Maybe we were headed the same way. Maybe I was overthinking it. Then got closer. Too close. The grill of the truck filled our back window, the engine roaring like it was trying to push us down the highway. Lex stayed calm, military calm. She pulled her phone out and opened the emergency dial but didn't hit call. Instead, she said, "I'm gonna try to lose them." We turned off onto a local road, a winding dirt path that led to a property owned by a friend of hers from basic training. We hadn't planned to stop there, but it was private and gated, and Lex said it was our best bet. As we pulled in through the narrow drive, the semi followed us part of the way, then stopped just outside the fence line. Lex forwarded up the drive. The main house came into view, a squat concrete home with high fencing and dog barking in the distance. Before we could even explain, Lex's friend, Gabe, stepped out holding a hunting rifle. Not raised, just there. We both got out. Gabe took one look past us and said, "Someone follow you?" Lex nodded. "We think so." Gabe walked toward the gate, rifle still in hand. From the porch, I saw the semi's driver door open. 3 people climbed out, 2 women, 1 man. I recognized the woman from the motel immediately. She was smirking like she thought this was all funny. They didn't say anything, just stared. Gabe stood at the gate, calm as hell, and waved the rifle slowly in the air. "I'd suggest turning around," he said, voice flat. They hesitated, then climbed back in. The truck backed up and rolled off like it had all day to kill. We stayed at Gabe's that night, locked the car in his shed, slept with the windows shut tight, and a bat next to the bed. Next morning, we left town in a different direction, drove a few hours out of the way just to be safe. Never saw that truck again. I don't know what they wanted. Maybe it was just intimidation. Maybe it was something worse. We didn't file a report. Too little info, too much assumption. But ever since then, we keep a checklist for every road trip. A map with all emergency exits, nearby police stations, back roads, places with cameras, friends within 50 miles. People think being 2 women on the road means catcalls or creeps. They don't talk much about this kind of threat, the kind that smiles at you through cracked teeth, then follows you for miles, just to see how far they can go before someone steps in. I still love road trips, still love stopping at weird spots, and watching Lex laugh when something freaks her out. But now, I always sleep with one eye open. Somewhere out there, that truck is still rolling, and I hope we never cross paths again. We were somewhere between Flagstaff and Barstow when it happened. That stretch of I-40 gets so quiet at night. It feels like the dark could swallow your whole car if you drive too long without talking. The kind of quiet that makes you feel like maybe you missed a turn and somehow ended up nowhere. That night, though, it wasn't the silence that made me uneasy. It was the headlights. I'm Tessa. I was 24 at the time, and my boyfriend, Drew, was 26. We were on our 3rd cross-country drive, helping his sister move from Ohio to California. We'd already dropped her stuff off in Bakersfield, and we're on our way back home to Albuquerque. Just the 2 of us and our mutt Daisy. She's part lab, part shepherd, all attitude. That dog barks at Lees if they look at her wrong, and she doesn't apologize for it. She's never been trained as a guard dog, but she carries herself like one. Being with her always gave me this illusion of security, even when maybe I shouldn't have felt so safe. It was a little after 3 a.m. when we pulled into a rest stop. The kind of late where the world feels thinner, quieter, like time's hanging in limbo. We were running on caffeine and highway buzz. Too worn out of sleep, but too wired to keep going. We just needed a break, a breath, a stretch, a switch behind the wheel. I remember the exit sign because it was the only thing glowing for miles. Everything else was shadows and asphalt. The rest stop was maybe 40 miles east of Needles, right near the Arizona border. Not a major one, just one of those odd pull-off stops tucked behind a patch of desert brush with a lone street lamp that hummed louder than it lit. The setup was strange. Bathrooms on the far side of a hill, some metal picnic tables that looked like they hadn't been used in years, and a looped driveway that forced you to enter and exit from the same narrow stretch of road. It felt isolated in a way that makes you forget there's a world outside of your headlights. We parked near the dog area. There were maybe 2 other vehicles. One beat-up sedan parked toward the edge of the lot, its windows fogged like someone was sleeping inside, and a couple of semis off in the trucker section. Their engines were off, no sign of movement. It was the kind of place you assume is safe just because it's too quiet for trouble. Drew lit a cigarette and leaned against the side of the car while I grabbed Daisy's leash and said I'd hit the restroom first. He offered to walk with me to the bottom of the hill, and I didn't say no. Not because I felt unsafe, but because with him nearby, I didn't have to think about whether or not I felt unsafe. I didn't have to overanalyze the dark corners, or wonder if the crunch behind me was gravel or something else. The bathrooms were empty, clean enough. but the lights inside flickered like they couldn't make up their mind. I washed up, pulled my sleeves down, and half jogged back to the car when I realized how cold the air had gotten. The wind had picked up, dry and sharp, and I hadn't grabbed my hoodie from the truck. It was the kind of cold that gets in your joints. Drew handed me Daisy's leash and said, "Don't let her eat anything weird," then headed off in the direction I just come from. Daisy and I wandered over the grass patch by the edge of the lot. The rest stop didn't have a fence exactly, just a low row of wooden posts and some scraggly desert shrubs. It felt exposed. You could hear the occasional car on the highway, but otherwise it was still, not peaceful still, hollow. I stood there, waiting for Daisy to find a spot. She was taking her sweet time, sniffing the air like she was catching a scent that didn't belong. I figured it was a rabbit or another dog's leftovers. I was bent over, bag in hand, scooping her mess, when I heard the low, unmistakable sound of a diesel engine rumbling to life. I looked up. One of the semis on the trucker side had flicked on its lights. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Drivers wake up early. Maybe he was getting a head start, but the truck didn't pull toward the highway exit. It rolled forward slowly, like it had all the time in the world, and stopped at the edge of the lot, right at the line that separated the truck area from where we were parked. Then the brights flipped on. My eyes snapped shut from the intensity. I raised a hand, blinking through the glare. It was like standing under a spotlight. For a second, I just stood there, confused, trying to make sense of it. Maybe he didn't see me. Maybe he was adjusting his mirrors. But the angle was too exact. It was like the lights had been aimed directly at me. Daisy stiffened beside me. Her tail dropped, body tense. I turned toward the trash can, bag in hand, and walked with purpose, trying not to show how much it was starting to freak me out. The lights followed. As I dropped the bag in, the truck's lights began to flash. On, off, like a message I didn't know how to read. I paused, halfway between the trash can and the car, and glanced back. Still flashing, still idling, still pointed at me. Then the truck crept forward again, the wheels groaning against the pavement like the whole thing was alive and old and hungry for something. Daisy growled, low, deep, the kind of growl she never used around strangers unless something fell off. I froze. That kind of freeze where your brain is still working, but your feet forgot how. I knew I should move, get back to the car, but part of me didn't want to turn my back to the truck. Something about it felt too deliberate. Not an accident, not a coincidence. That's when I heard it. The metallic click of a door unlatching. The flashing stopped. The lights held steady now. No flickering, no strobing. Just this cold, unblinking stare. And then, a shape stepped out of the cab. I couldn't see his face, just a man, tall, broad, wearing a ball cap and a jacket that looked too heavy for the weather. His boots hit the ground with weight. He didn't stretch, didn't yawn, didn't do any of the things people normally do when they climb out of a truck after a long night. He just stood there, watching, waiting. Daisy's growl turned into barking, sharp, repetitive, full of warning. I didn't say anything to her. I didn't need to. She already knew. I turned and walked fast toward the car, fumbling in my pocket for the keys. My hand was shaking. I couldn't find the button. My thumb kept slipping. I was almost there. The car was right in front of me, but the sound of boots scraping on asphalt behind me made it feel like a mile. Then suddenly, Drew. He walked up next to me, placed a steady hand on my shoulder, and stood between me and the truck. "What the hell's this guy doing?" he asked, voice calm but tight. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My mouth was dry and I didn't trust what would come out. The man froze. For a long beat, he just stood there like he was weighing something. Then, with no sound at all, he turned, climbed back into the truck, and shut the door. The engine revved. The truck backed up slowly, still facing us, still staring. Then it turned, skipped the loop, and drove back out the way it came in. Drew didn't move until the taillights were gone. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. I nodded, though I didn't feel okay. I told him everything. The lights, the flashing, the slow crawl toward me. The door. The man. Drew was quiet for a while. Then he muttered something I didn't understand. What? He looked at me. Lot lizard signals. I frowned. Some truckers use their brights or flashers as signals, he said. It's old school. They think if someone's working a lot, they'll come over. It's not always about sex. Sometimes it's just someone looking to bother the wrong person. I stared at him. You think that's what that was? I think he thought you were alone, and I think he wanted to see what you'd do. I didn't say anything. My stomach was tight, and I felt cold again, this time on the inside. The idea that someone looked at me, dressed in joggers and a hoodie, walking a dog, and saw someone to approach in the middle of nowhere made me feel exposed. We didn't sleep. We got in the car and drove until the sun came up, stopping only when we hit the Arizona line and found a busy gas station with security cameras and too many lights. Daisy passed out in the back seat, as if the whole thing hadn't happened. I kept turning it over in my head. The signals, the silence, the way he stood there like he was testing the boundary between curiosity and something worse. Since that night, I've never walked alone at a rest stop. Even in daylight, I check every corner before I get out. I learned how to read signals in a new way. Not the ones on the road, but the ones people don't always mean for you to see. The ones hidden in the way they look at you too long, or don't say anything at all. Some signals are just headlights. Some are warnings, and some are threats pretending to be something else. I pay attention now, because someone always is.